Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now welcome to one of my back to basics videos. This is where I go right back into men's sartorial styles and talk about the elemental things which make up one's outfit, things like ironing, polishing your shoes, how to do a tie, really simple things which I know men need to know. Now this video is all about maintaining your footwear right from the very basics right up to obtaining a mirror shine, a fantastic glaçage on your shoes. So I'm going to talk us through the whole process using a pair of shoes which desperately need this attention from scratch. So I'm going to bring you right into my work table and I'm going to talk you through the whole process from beginning to end. Okay then folks, here we go. Here is a pair of shoes which has had a bit of a hard life. Now I bought these from eBay quite some time ago, very modestly, not expensive at all. They're a pair of Grensons, heritage shoes. They are leather soles, but there's loads of life left in these shoes. And I had them for a short while and I loved them, but my son, who's now reached the same shoe size as me, hopefully only for a short time because he's growing fast, he needed to borrow some shoes to go to a wedding. He had these shoes and he totally trashed them. And as you can see, there's very little what you would describe as shine left on these shoes at all. They've had a tough life. They're rather dull, they're bland and lackluster. So they need a bit of an upgrade. So I'm going to take one away. That will allow us to compare what we've done at the end of this journey. So the first thing that I think is important to say when it comes to maintaining your shoes at home once you've bought them is to use a shoe tree. And here is a typical shoe tree. This is made of cedar. Now cedar is the preferable wood to use because it's porous, so it encourages the wicking and the absorption of any moisture from the shoe, and also cedar emits a rather pleasant fragrance, so it imparts a nice smell on one's footwear. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to place this inside the shoe carefully, right? And what this does, as well as, there we go, good snug fit, what it does, it firstly, as I say, keeps the shoe, they're in the correct shape, so it keeps its integrity. Now what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to remove the laces here. I don't always remove the laces when I'm maintaining a pair of shoes because it does cause stress on the laces and on the eyelets of the shoe. But in this case, I intend to do something of a full job, so I don't mind taking the laces out. Take your time, make sure you're not damaging the eyelets of the shoe or the aglets of the laces, those little bits on the end, because you want your laces to last as long as possible. There's my lace, keep that somewhere safe. Now, our shoe at this stage is quite clean. All right, there's no dirt or detritus or mud on the shoe, so it's a good starting point for me to begin the cleansing process. But as you can see, hopefully, the shoe has got no shine to it at all. It lacks any sort of pop. So to me, that sort of dullness suggests that the shoe needs some protection. It needs to be boosted a bit, nourished. It needs to be fed, because remember, leather, it's a natural substance. It was once part of the donor animal which provided us this beautiful piece of leather, so it needs to be fed. And in order to feed the shoe, I'm going to use a leather conditioner. Now in this particular case, I'm using a leather conditioner from a French brand called Saphir. Saphir, I would think it's fair to say, renowned as being the finest shoe product manufacturer in the world at this point. But they make this product called Renovator, or Renovator in English, shall we call it. And it's quite simply a cream conditioning agent. So simple stuff, nothing fancy. And what we want to do is cover the shoe in that cream. Now the other thing which I'm going to need throughout this whole process is a cloth, all right? A simple cloth. This is just a simple cotton cloth which I've harvested from an old shirt. I've cut it out using a pinking shears, as you can see around the edges. And you know, from an old shirt which you're going to throw away, you can probably harvest about 5, 6 or 7 such cloths. And all I do, I put the cloth over 2 of my fingers, I wrap it around the back to draw it tight over the fingers, as you can see, and then put it round to the front, and there I have a usable working surface for my shoe. I'm now going to bring in this material, I'm going to dip my finger into the Renovator, and I'm going to cover the shoe in the Renovator, right, using small concentric circles in which I am endeavouring, and also including the sole as well, of course, around the edges, I'm endeavouring to encourage that renovating material into the actual leather itself. I'm feeding it, if you want to think of it like that. And I'm going to cover the entire shoe with this renovating material, right? This renovator, as they call it. And you can just take your time, make sure it gets everywhere, in all the little holes of the broguing, get it all in there. Doesn't matter how much you put on, you can't put too much on, as long as you keep working it into the leather. Move the shoe around, get it in the other parts around the back, in the hind quarters, in the apron of the shoe, all these different parts of the shoe, on the sole, on the heel, get it all around the edges. It's all leather, it all needs this service. It all will be grateful for the love and attention that you're lavishing upon it. Believe me, it will look so much better, even after just this one application of this renovating, nourishing, conditioning cream. Now, I've gone around it all once, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, as I say, keep encouraging it in. Get it in there, get it working, get it deep into the leather. Now, you can see in some of the areas of the broguing that the renovation cream has filled that area of broguing. Don't be worried about that, that's not a problem at all. That will soon dry, and when we apply the brush, which is the next phase, it'll all disappear, don't worry at all. So just work it all in there. Make sure it's all protecting and nourishing that leather. Now, all we need to do at this stage, now that we've applied it, is let it dry. So I'm just going to leave the shoe for a couple of minutes. Of course, I'm in the outdoors and I'm in, the prevailing winds. Just going to leave it for a moment and it'll soon dry. And you can tell when it's dried because the finish of the shoe will take a dull luster, looking as if it needs the next stage to take place. So there we go. Just leave that for a moment. Now, a few minutes have passed and it's time for the next phase to take place, and this is something we're going to repeat in the next phases as well of maintaining our shoes, because now the product, the nourishing conditioning cream, has dried on the shoe, it's imparted itself into the leather. Now we need to take away any excess that's laying on the surface of the leather, and in order to do that we're going to use, let's move my shoe to one side, as you can see, a good quality brush. Now this is a horsehair brush, 100% horsehair brush, nice and large, nice and big, lots of bristles on there, and the idea is that we're going to brush the shoe using this, and friction and the resulting heat which is built up using the brush will shift away any of the leather which is laying on the surface, any of the material, the renovator cream, which is laying on the surface of the leather. And it'll encourage any to go into the leather further by that friction and the heat which is subsequently generated. Now, it's a quite straightforward process. We just take the brush and we apply it to the shoe. It's not complicated. It's simple, old-fashioned elbow grease. And it doesn't take very long to get quite a better look to the shoe using this process. So there we go. We've now applied the brush to our shoe, and any of that conditioning cream which hadn't found its place in the leather has now been encouraged into the leather or has gone onto the brush and moved away from the shoe. And already you can see that the shoe has acquired a distinct luster. It's changed in its appearance entirely from that dull, bland looking shoe that was there before. And that's just in the application of the conditioning cream. Now, the conditioning cream does contain waxes and oils which are beneficial to the ongoing maintenance of the leather and your shoes. All right, so you could simply just use conditioning cream, and that's all that you use on your shoe as time goes on. There's no need to go any further than this at this stage if that is what you're satisfied with. A nice sheen to the shoe, which is kind of, it's lustrous, but it's not what I would describe as shiny. Your shoe will be largely protected, but I would suggest that we need to take it to the next stage, because we're chaps, we're gentlemen. We want to look the best we can. We also want our shoe to be better protected and look its finest. Now, the next step I'm going to suggest to you is the application of a shoe cream. Now, most people, when they think of polishing their shoes, they actually think of wax polish. And that's the next stage, actually. You'll recognize this. It's a hard wax polish, yeah? Most people only ever apply this to their footwear. They don't realize that more beneficial to their footwear is shoe cream. Now, shoe cream bears a resemblance, of course, to the wax polish. It also contains oils and waxes, which will nourish the shoe. But more importantly, this stuff contains quite a lot of pigmentation. so in this case black. That black will renovate the colour of the shoe. It will deepen that colour black, and whatever colour shoe you have, burgundy, various colours of brown, you choose a shoe cream which is as close to the shoe as you can. And if you can't find one like that, or you want to keep the shoe in its natural, as close to its natural colour, factory finish colour as you want, you can buy a neutral, which is kind of a bit like the conditioning cream I showed you, clear in colour. It imparts the benefits of the shoe cream without any pigmentation. But this stuff, really important for us today, because it adds pigment to the leather, so it'll make that black an even deeper, darker, inky black. But the waxes and oils contained within this, and this is called Sapphire Pomadia shoe cream. They do different variations, but the Pomadia is their highest level. That will impart a little bit more colour to the shoe as well. And of course, it maintains and nourishes the shoe in the same way that the conditioning cream does, but this is another level again. Now, when we did the conditioning cream, perhaps I should have said, if your shoe is really thirsty for nourishment, you can go through that process more than once. You can apply conditioning cream a second time or a third time if you really want to. Or you could move on and do shoe cream like this here. So exactly the same, we get our cloth, we wrap it around 2 fingers as I did earlier, and there we have, let's just get it on nice and tight, a working surface for me to apply the shoe cream. Now I just put the shoe cream on my finger as such, and exactly the same way as we applied the conditioning cream to the leather of the shoe, all I'm doing here is I'm applying the shoe cream to the leather. Exactly the same, small concentric circles using a small amount of the product at each time, and I'm working that into the leather. And now that pigmentation which is contained within the shoe cream is going to seep into the leather. It's going to refresh this dark colour, this black in this instance. Also go around the edges of the sole, because that needs to be nice and sharp in its colour as well. And all we're doing is working it into the leather. And exactly the same as the conditioning cream, should we wish to do so, we could apply more than one coat of this. So if the shoes have been in the back of a closet for many years and they've not had any attention, they really need to be renovated, so to speak. We could, of course, go around this shoe a second time, a third time, whatever you want to do. But it's all about getting that product into the leather where it will be able to benefit the leather, refresh it, and ultimately, for us as gentlemen, make our shoes look as good as they can. Because of course, we've invested a lot of money into these shoes. We want them to look their best for as long as possible. And by looking after the leather, applying these products, the shoe is going to last longer and look better when it is in our service. Now, exactly the same as the renovation cream, what we have to do now is just let the product dry on the shoe for a little while, and then we're going to apply the brush for a second time. And this time, those waxes and oils, again, will look even better than they did the first time when we used the friction and the heat from the brush to sort of activate them on the leather. Now in this instance, I can see that the leather, the leather shoe cream has dried very swiftly. Because I'm in the outdoors, it might take longer if you're at home. But I'm ready to apply the brush right now. So I'm going to get started with that straight away. And in exactly the same way as we did with the renovation cream, all I'm going to do is show the brush to the shoe all over the areas where we applied it, and the shoe's going to come to life. So there we go. We've now applied the brush, and again we see a step change in the luster. Not terribly so after the renovation cream, but now there's a little bit deeper pigmentation of the colour black. The shoe's a bit more protected. There are more oils and waxes in that leather, and the shoe is looking all around a far better product indeed. Now, we could simply leave it at that. I think if you walk around the streets, you wouldn't find many people whose shoes are better in their maintenance and finish than this. This is kind of the industry standard, and many people, they don't even bother with wax polish. But of course, we're here today for something of a back to basics masterclass. Now we're going to move along to the next product which I would suggest a gentleman needs to have in his shoe care collection, and that is wax polish. Now again, this is from the French brand of Saphir. All the products I'm using today are. But this is their Pat Deluxe wax, and it's their top of the range wax polish. It's black, of course, because I'm working on a pair of black shoes. But with your own shoes, if you've got a brown shoe, a mid-brown shoe, regardless of the colour, you know, they pretty much make a product which will meet the needs of the colour of your shoe. Now, as you can see, this is a wax polish. With my cream polish, it was a much looser, almost viscous material inside. Not a liquid, but a semi-solid. When it comes to wax polish, it's clearly, right, it doesn't pop out, it is clearly a solid material. And that is waxes, oils, all combined together to make up the polish. And with this one, when you smell it, this is made of natural materials. There's no petroleum within this polish, which you will find in cheaper polish products. So I do recommend that if you're looking after a good quality pair of shoes, the higher quality that you buy in your shoe care products will afford you the best result. So natural materials, natural components within the polish tend to have the best result. So here are my shoes again. And now it's time to, I think you know what we're going to do. It's a repeat of the same process. So I'm going to get my cloth round the finger yet again and build up that little working area. Now, some people actually just use their fingers for these things. I prefer the majesty, if you will, of using a cleansing or just a cloth. Now, what I do, I get some of the wax polish on the end of my finger just by rubbing my finger over it. And now I'm just going to apply this exactly the same way yet again over the shoe, and again just using a little bit more wax as it wears off from my pad, and I'm working this again, small concentric circles into the leather of the shoe. Again, my goal is to get it into the leather where it can do its work, where it can provide protection. Now, this solid wax has a couple of purposes for us. Firstly, and most importantly, is it protects the shoe from the elements. So if you're living in a country where it rains a lot, and I live here in the United Kingdom, where whilst we have what I would describe as a temperate climate, so it's mild, it's nice, it's a beautiful place to live, but it does rain often in the winter season. And leather, of course, doesn't like getting wet that much. It's going to have an impact upon the performance of the leather. So when I apply a wax polish to my shoe, what I'm doing is I'm creating a small wax shell over the leather. So when it gets splashed by a car going past, or I'm walking across the pavement and the water is splashing up onto the leather of the shoe, my shoe, because the wax polish is going to be over the top of it in its little shell, when I've polished it off in a moment, it will protect the shoe from the elements to a degree. Okay, so as we've done before, what we need to do now is just let that wax solidify, and it will be ready for us to show it the brush. Okay, so just a few moments have passed now, so enough time for that wax to dry. And as you can see, it looks rather dull, no luster there. We're going to show it the brush exactly the same way as we've done before. But this time, we will see the greatest improvement in the spectrum of the shine, which will be revealed to us, because solid wax polish, most people think of it as providing the shine on their shoes, and they're absolutely right. This solid wax polish will give us a nice finish at the end, as well as protecting the shoe. So as I said, two purposes for using wax polish. First, shoe protection. Secondly, shoe appearance, because we will see a bit more of a shine in just a moment. There we go. Now, there we have a shiny shoe, more than capable of being worn to any business situation, social function. That's pretty much what most people will expect of a shiny shoe. It's not super shiny, it's standard shiny, and the shoe is protected. So we're in a good place with our shoes. This shoe now can go out into the world happily in the knowledge that it's protected, it's shiny, its colour's been brought back to the highest level of pigment that we can by using standard products, and we can repeat that every week if we need to. Or if you go out and your shoes get wet and they have a tough day, you can, add a bit more of the renovation cream at the end of the day, whatever's necessary to keep your shoe looking tip-top. Personally, I tend to go through the process I've just displayed to you, maybe, every week or fortnight, depending on the life that my shoes are put through. If I wear them every other day and they have a tough old life, I do it maybe weekly. If I only wear the shoes maybe twice a week, I might do it every other week or every third week or every fourth week. It depends on if the shoe looks like it needs any extra effort. However, as you know, we're chaps, we're gentlemen. We always strive to be the best we can. Now there is one other level of shoe finish which is available to us, which sets us apart from those who don't make the effort. And that, of course, is the mirror shine. This is where we get a glaçage, as they call it, the French call it, that mirror shine, spit polish, spit shine, whatever you want to call it. It will make the toe cap, in this instance, absolutely super shiny like a mirror, and it really draws attention to us in our appearance, right? It's the final tier of shoe prep. Now, how do we do that? Well, it's back to the solid wax polish, because the goal now is to repeat a process over the toe cap of applying wax polish, then bringing it up to a shine, apply another level of wax polish, shine it again, until we come to a point where the small sort of divots, or whatever you want to call it, the little sort of imperfections in the leather, have been totally filled by polish, by a polished shell, and when the light hits them it bounces off exactly as if it were a mirror. And that is time consuming, but we're going to do it today. Now, how we achieve that mirror shine has been slightly improved for us in its speed by Saphir, which actually makes a product called Mirror Gloss now, which is the same as our wax polish, but the wax inside here is a little drier. It's not as sort of wet, so to speak. As you can see, it's dried out quite a bit in my particular case here, but that is easier to apply and start to build up the layers that we're going to find necessary to get my shoe in its best possible form. So now I'm stepping aside from my cloth right now, and I'm going to reach into my pocket and bring out this small cosmetic cotton pad. Now, I say cosmetic, women tend to use these, or men of course who wear makeup, for their cosmetic purposes. They'll use them to remove makeup at the end of a day. But I have found this to be ideal for applying my mirror shine. So what I'm going to do, this is just simple water in this little spray bottle here. I'm going to spray some water on my little pad just to get it slightly damp. It's not wet by any means, it's just slightly damp. I'm going to fold my little pad up into a usable, grippable form, as you can see, right? Nice, easy for me to grip. Now I'm going to use that, and I'm going to get as much of this polish here onto the end of my pad. As you can see, I've transferred the polish from the container onto my pad, and now I'm going to work that into the leather of the toe cap. I'm only going to apply this to the toe cap, right? We can't apply it, or we could apply it to the rest of the shoe, but by building up that shell over the toe cap, it's going to solidify, all right? So if we built it up here over the vamp of the shoe, where the shoe naturally bends as we walk along, of course that shell would crack and break and fall away and look damn awful. So our goal, of course, is to look better, not worse. So what we're going to do, I'm going to apply that, this polish. You can do this with normal wax polish, but this mirror shine polish just makes it a little speedier in the process. So I'm just applying that all over the toe cap of this shoe, and I'm going to work it in and work it in. And now I'm just going to let that dry for a moment, and then I'm going to keep working on it using my pad. Now I've applied the first coat, and already there's a bit more of a shine starting to appear. Now I may have to apply 6 or 7 or 8 coats like this, repeating it every time, getting more wax onto my pad, applying it, then working it in until it comes to that shine. But every time we apply another layer of wax and bring it to a shine, that shine becomes a little more translucent, a little more zappy, and shortly we will have a mirror shine. Now, I don't expect you to sit there and watch me doing this over and over again, so I'm going to speed this up or take you ahead to where the shine looks its absolute best. But it's just simply a laborious case of applying wax, keep going until it comes to a shine, applying more wax, and rinse and repeat over and over again until we're satisfied with the shine that's revealed to us by our hard work. Okay, so welcome back, and I've just spent a happy 10 minutes or so applying layer after layer of polish using my little pad and my polish here, and this is where we have come to a rest. Okay, I've probably applied 5 layers of polish and just brought it up to a shine each time, and each time a little bit more of a mirror shine has been revealed. And now you can see a deep luster forming in that shoe, in that toe cap. And already, you know, if I wore that out into society now, I would undoubtedly have the best pair of shoes of any gentleman in the street in most instances. And it doesn't take long. And actually, most of us who enjoy polishing shoes will tell you that it's quite a cathartic, restful experience. You know, there's this ASMR ideology that it helps the brain to do repetitive, boring tasks. Actually, I do find that the case when I look after my shoes. Now, of course, it's hard to tell how good this shoe looks because, you know, you've seen it gradually get better. However, of course, the shoe has a friend. It has its partner here. And this is perhaps the best way of looking at them both together, so we can see, hopefully you can see, how one has now taken on a totally different look. It's gone from looking dull and, you know, without any character to it, to now looking far better, far more exciting. The sun is dancing off that toe cap. And if you walk the streets, of course, and you stood next to another gentleman who was dressed equally the same, but your shoe had had that extra maybe half an hour of effort, you're definitely going to stand out, because the shoe is the foundation of your outfit. It's where people tend to look when they first see you. And that wonderful luster, that shine, that mirror shine, the glaçage as the French call it, it makes all the difference. And it allows you to wear these shoes in situations where you perhaps wouldn't ordinarily. It would allow you to wear these shoes with black tie, because that luster, that mirror shine, is reminiscent, of course, of patent leather, which is typically what's worn with black tie. And having that shine on your day shoe shows that you are a gentleman who takes an effort in your appearance. Certainly a lot better than this dull, you know, knackered out old shoe. This shoe looks fine and beautiful, and actually looks almost new, even though these shoes are in excess of 20 years old. I can assure you of that. So there you go. That's what can be achieved with just a small amount of effort. So there we go, folks. That is my back to basics when it comes to maintaining your shoes and actually making them do the very best that they can for you in your life. So what you need, just a reminder, all right, the products that you need to have in your collection. Firstly, shoe conditioning cream. Doesn't matter what brand it is. I used Sophia Renovator today. That's a definite. You buy this and it'll last for about 5 years if you only use a small amount at a time. In addition to the renovation cream, I recommend you use a shoe cream. Now, the renovation cream will look after the nourishment and the feeding of your shoes. The shoe cream, by comparison, it will do the same job to a degree, but also it will add color, pigmentation, and a little bit more of a shine. More of an overall good package. In addition to that, hard wax polish. Again, this is a Sophia product, but any number of brands do the same job. Once you've applied these two, then you can move along and use wax polish. This is where you get the best shine. And if you want the mirror shine, you don't have to buy a mirror shine specialist product. You can achieve the same using your wax polish. But if you want to go nuts and be, looking after that mirror shine regularly, it may be worth investing in a small amount more and buying a mirror shine product. But you don't have to. It's important to say that. You can do the same just using your normal wax polish. It just takes a bit longer. Now, in addition, in your shoe cleaning or care kit, a good horsehair brush will be necessary. I would suggest one for black and one for brown or other colours. So if you have burgundy shoes, but black, obviously, if you're taking the polish off, it's going to leave some of that material, the polish, the cream, on the brush. And if you were to then shine a brown shoe, particularly a light brown shoe, there would be an imparting of the colour. So perhaps choose 2 brushes, one for black shoes and one for everything else. That's what I tend to do. And just to finish off, I actually have a little shining pad here, which I created by getting a block of wood and tacking a little microfiber cloth on there. And I also use that for just maintaining the shine between, you know, the big efforts that I do once a week, once a fortnight or whatever. That's just for keeping the shine going in between those big events. And of course, a cotton cloth. That's all you need. Piece of old shirt or a specially bought cotton cloth, whatever you need. But that is all you need. And that will keep your shoes looking fabulous for decades. You'll get that beautiful mirror shine and stand apart from all those other men who haven't bothered. So I hope you found this back to basics when it comes to shoe cleaning, polishing, maintenance of some use. If you have, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, click the subscribe button if you'd like to see more. You can support the channel by buying me a coffee or becoming a patron. And I make extra videos for my patrons, whose names you will see at the end of this video. So until the next time, keep your shoes sharp, shiny and fabulous. And I will see you again very soon.